going to walk you through opening up Zbrush. We're going to click it open, and you're going to be met with a couple things that we need to get rid of. First is the home page. I like close this. Then you're met with this menu. It's called a light box. We're going to use that later, but it's helpful for opening up brushes and other projects that get saved, stuff that you don't want loaded into the startup menus. And then we're going to click on the screen to make sure I'm on it, hit the comma key to get rid of that menu. You can hit it again to open it again, yada yada, and then you're met with this. And you're like, why can't I sculpt? Well, first you have to open up a mesh. You see that you can't edit anything, so you're going to hit PolyMesh 3D over here in the tool menu, and then you're going to hit Control N, clear the canvas, and now see we can start working on the mesh. I'm just going to change the material real quick. Over here I just click on one of my startups. I believe it's in here somewhere. Now we can start sculpting on it. And to go over some key navigation features, to pan you want to hit Alt to pan the mesh this way. You're going to click on the background to rotate, or you can hit this up here, or you can hold Shift and then turn. Zoom in, it's a bit tricky, so Alt, click, release Alt, drag. So for one more time, so we're gonna click, hold Alt, click down, release Alt, and then drag down. I would get into the practice of doing this. You can also zoom in by hitting right click if you have a certain preference turned on. If you get too zoomed in, you can always hit F to frame it. And if you have multiple objects, you can always hit solo mode, or my hotkey is Alt D, because the default Alt S sometimes breaks for me. So if you have multiple objects like in this file and you want to change to solo mode 1, you can either hit this button or you can hit Alt E, or Alt S I think is the default, so Alt S, but sometimes that breaks for me, so sometimes I hit the button here. It's up to you what you decide to do. You can also do ghost mode or transparency. These are these buttons here. They don't have hotkeys. Oh, they do. Never knew that. Alt to Control T, but I don't use them enough. Symmetry is as well X. I'll go over these during the tutorial as well, but symmetry is X. You can see it when you line to the front. I also have a thing up here for the different axes. This allows me to see those up there. So I'm gonna go over how to use Gizmo. So if you come from a Blender background, you should know how to use this tool, or vice versa, you don't use this tool and say you use the without, so you just use the scale on the X and scale on the Y, and it works the same way in Zbrush except a little different. So I'm gonna go over how to use the Gizmo really quick. What we're gonna do is hit the W key. Then to move it, you can either hit the unlock button. This is also how you center it, but you can also hold Alt and drag it over things to move the position. You can align it to the normals. The other parts of it are the scale in each direction. This scales everything. The middle yellow one, rotation. The other thing I want to cover is there's a couple options in here that we might go over later, but we're not going to cover too much. This moves everything in the folder once you hit these pizza boxes. I have a bunch of subtools. Say for example, I had a ton of subtools I wanted to select. You can Control Shift click on everything and gather it all into your selection. Oops, so missing something here. Once you have everything selected, I missed some things, but you can, once you have everything selected that you want, like everything here, I'll move it. It's gonna be really messed up because I missed some things, but you see what I mean? Like it selects the things you have, and you can also inverse it, I believe. It comes everything back. I think you click it, so like that. Click it to inverse it, what you have selected. You can also use Tpose Mesh to do that too, but back to the other tool I want to go over. So the other tool, when you have this one selected, also make sure you turn that off, is the Y key, and you're like, where is it? And this is the old move brush, and what you're going to do is click it onto the surface. And I won't go over too much how to use this, but just know that those are here, because the other one doesn't use those, you just use the tool itself. But you can see here, I'm rotating it from the axis, and this one I think is the axis. You can like snap it to the different whatchamacallits, but yes, this is the old one, and it's good for some things like posing arms. but and also measuring things. You can see like the units here. It shows like, yeah, that's, I'm not gonna go over it too much because I only use this a little bit, but this is a great fun tool and lots of cool features I think that a lot of people would find interesting or they should at least know about. So I wanted to go over a quick brush demo and several things on how to get started sculpting it if you want to just jump into that. Control D is to divide, Shift D is to go down. To find it, it's in the geometry panel right here. If it's not on your UI, I recommend this. This should get you started sculpting high poly in Zbrush. The other thing, I want to go over a couple brushes real quick with you. I use clay buildup, so BCB is how you get it in this. I'm going to divide up to show you what this looks like. Higher poly. I have this damn standard, or I also use Geo brush, and I put that over here. And I also use move brush. That's my 2 key. And when I'm talking about these 1, 2, 3, what you can do with setting brushes is pop over this to go here. And you're going to set hotkeys, so you're going to hit Control Alt click on the brush. So I'm going to hit Control Alt click on here, and then you can press that in combination. You can see up here what it says. I'm going to just reset what I have already, so I'm going to Control Alt click. 1 is my clay buildup. Move brush, you're going to want to find that, and you're going to hit Control Alt click on it. 2 is the numpad at the top of the keyboard, and then Control Alt click, I believe. 3 is damn standard. 4 is trim dynamic, and 5 I don't really use. I usually just click it over here. If you want to move brushes into the menu, what you want to do is enable customize. So it's interface to config, enable customize, and this is how you will be able to edit. So I will just drag these brushes over here. That's how I also get all the buttons here. And a little tip for you guys, you can scroll with Control at the bottom here, and you can add different workspaces. So if I wanted to do like exporting moving positions, maybe I'm just doing stuff for key shot. I don't really do that anymore, but I have that over there. That's what I do there. And I have added stuff up here as well. And that's how I keep my workflow concise and all in the same location, how I get so much sculpting done. I recommend setting hotkeys because this speeds up your workflow. If you would like mine, you can just download off my Patreon or what have you. I recommend doing this. Yeah, it saves me so much time, and I get frustrated when I use default workspaces now because I have everything here, and you know, I don't like to go and look for it. So I recommend you edit. This is something that I don't see a lot of other programs doing. There is some customizability in like Blender and Marvelous, but Zbrush just is a very big sandbox, so I recommend doing this. And one more thing, to find, if you're ever like, where do I find this in the menu if I want to tell someone where it is, if you hover over Control, oh, and oh, I'll replace that. Okay, but when you're done with enable customize, you want to turn it off, and you want to store config, and you can also export, I believe it's save UI. You can save that as a text doc or config document, and then hotkeys are saved here. So that's where you store and save. So if you ever set them, make sure you store them. Otherwise, when you restart ZBrush, they won't be there. Continue the brush demo. If you hit V, that's the switching the color. So you can see over here, it's switching. The other thing I want to go over is the mask option. So I have lasso turned on right now. I have a hotkey set for it. If you don't have hotkeys, you can just go up here and switch them as well. I have one for Control plus 1 is the mask pin, Control plus 2 is mask lasso. That's what that does. And in order to have this, you need to get rid of a default setting in ZBrush that causes pop-ups when you have this like weird combo. I go over how to set that up later in the tutorial. Also, you need to download off messages. The link is below. But to further our mask demo, this is mask pin. You can also, if you drag outside, you have a rectangle. I go over this a lot in the tutorial, but I'm going to demo real quick how to really manage this. So you have this, and if you want to sharpen it, you Control Alt click on the mesh, and to blur it, you want to Control click on the outside of it. So, and to erase, you want to Control Alt click on the mesh, and same with mask lasso, you can hit Control Alt to delete. If you want to clear, just drag outside, and if you want to flip, you inverse, you control click on the outside and you to flip. And the other thing is sometimes I use the mask curve, but not really. There's the options in here you might want to explore. There's also mask circle, mask rectangle, yada yada, mesh balloon. These are all things to cover later. The selection tool, so I have control shift. That's how you click them too. If you don't have hotkeys, you can go up here and switch them as well. Same with the mask pen by when you hold down control. Control shift 1 is my select rectangle. I use select rectangle. And you want to hit control shift and click, and is the same way with masking, but you hit control shift to and drag out to not really click, because click brings everything back. So but with masking, in order to get rid of it, you just drag out, so it's a bit different. I guess it's still clearing, so you're clearing by clicking on it. It's just some separate things. Okay, so the lasso is a lasso like any other tool. You also can do control shift alt to deselect, and then vice versa. Control W allows you to create polygroups, and how I'm showing the polygroups is shift F. That's how you get the different select for later. We can go over that later, what those are, what have you. But so if you have a selection and you want to grow it and not bring the whole other part back, you control shift X to grow it, or to bring the whole thing back, you hit control shift A, or again click on the background. The reason why I have hotkeys for the brushes is because when you're selecting hair pieces, it's best to use the control rectangle, because the lasso tends to have selecting the poly loop, which can be fine, but I like to switch quickly back to the rectangle to select, and that helps me a lot. I'll go over more of this in my hair tutorial, but control shift 1, click on the hair pieces to isolate them. If I wanted to just bring these whole things back, if I accidentally grab this, so if I grab the whole like this, and I only wanted to bring back the ones I have selected here, like I could hit control shift A. Oh wait, hold on, let me show you. Control shift A, and it'll bring back only the ones I have selected. So as you can see, they're inversed, so these are hidden, these are not, or this vice versa. And what this can do is put up a whole bunch of possibilities for you. Oh, also one more, control shift clip curve. This is good for flattening surfaces. I like to use this one because it's been in Zbrush forever. It is buggy sometimes, but for what you use it for, if you hit alt like this, you can get like a nice rectangle. For what we're going to do it for, it's gonna work really well. So I recommend using this tool. And to get a curve, you want to hit alt to do it like that. And to get a nice sharp angle, you double tap alt when you're dragging out. So control shift, double tap alt, and there you go. And it's permanent, so if you want to go on, you have to go back. And there's some other ones in here as well. Feel free to experiment, but I'm just going over the basic tools to get you started. And one last hotkey I would like to go over that I am going to use in the tutorial is Zmodeler. You don't have to know everything about this brush, but what I have it set to is the 0 key on the keyboard. And to use it, you want to hover over different parts. So this is known as a face of the model. This is the edge, and this is a point. So there's 3 different selections. If you've used Blender, you know this, or Maya. This, well, Q-Mesh is like the sort of better extrude. It snaps to other things. We're kind of going to be using, see how it snaps. There's a couple things we'll go over. I don't have to know everything, like I said, but the edge, what you do is to open each thing. See, this is on insert. You can read what it says at the bottom. It's kind of hard to see right now, but each thing has a thing already assigned to it. But in order to change that, you want to hover over the item, and so if I want to maybe polygroup the face. So I'm gonna look for polyloop. And you're gonna polygroup a loop. There you go. That rhymes. If I wanted to delete these edges, I can also hit alt on that, or I could hover over the edge and hit delete. So delete like that. Whatever you want to do, there's a couple different is how you do the order of things. So if I wanted to, let's say, split a point. So what you're going to do is hover over the point. See how it says move points? Press the spacebar and then split the point. Oops, sorry, it's on the edge. There you go. That's splitting a point. And this is not something I mean, it's something you can learn. I definitely would spend a lot of time trying to learn as much as you can in ZBrush, because the less you have to go between programs, the more time you'll save. But again, for this, we're going to be using some of the basics, and I'll go over each step of the process of how we use the brush. So don't worry too much about that. Oh, and one final thing, when you're using brushes, if you see around my circle right here, there is the outer ring and the inner ring. And what this is the focal shift, and the outside is the draw size. So that's the total amount is the outside. And what this means is when you change this, so this is going to be super strong. There's going to be no fall off. And we can use this to our advantage when we want to, say, gently move something. So if I want to gently, ignore that joke I made. If I want to gently move this, and I could either go with the move brush, and it's going to be super harsh here. Let me get a sphere and really show you. So S key to change the draw size. So if I wanted to gently move things without, say, like a harsh line, first you could blur the mask, and then you can, if you just take this, it's going to be super sharp. But if you take the outside ring of the move brush, you can get much gentle. So if it's over here, much sharper. You see how subtle that is? And versus this, which, again, I'm not pulling as much when I go to here, but there is a certain fall off, and you can use this to great advantage when you sculpt. So I highly recommend knowing how brushes work and how to manipulate them with masking, because once you know masking in ZBrush, you're pretty much done. That's what my teacher taught me years ago, and that's what I'm telling you now, is that masking is the most powerful thing in ZBrush. But one final thing I almost forgot, but whenever you have a brush, if you hold Alt while using it, the move brush will pull towards the camera, versus it goes in the opposite direction. So if you have Alt turned on or pressing it, it goes towards the camera. Clay buildup normally pulls out. If you hold Alt, it digs in. You can also change it up here, but I'd prefer to use Alt. Before we begin our face tutorial, I want to go over a couple of ZBrush navigation things, navigating the menus, and setting hotkeys. This should give you a bit of a preface if you are a beginner. And again, if you are a professional, I recommend staying around, because I have helped a couple people who have been using ZBrush for years and they didn't know certain things, like with the projects versus tools, Ztools. And I recommend staying for that, or this little blurb. And if not, just go to the timestamp below. First, I want to show you how to move different menus. You see over here how I have this little button that pops and sometimes closes everything. In order to bring it back, you can just drag it over. You can also drag it to the side over here. Open this and drag it to the side. Click on these to collapse and open it up. And this is how I will be navigating most of this tutorial, is in this menu. And this is how I load subtools and open things. So you hit load tool to open a file, and I hit save as to save a file, and I can show you that. In order to save, I hit Control S, enter, arrow key, enter, and there you go. So the reason why I use Ztools over projects is, first of all, let me go how you save projects. But you go projects, save as up here, and you can name it like let's name it test for now. But with projects versus Ztools, projects are much larger. Why are they much larger? They contain everything in here. I don't have a lot open, but imagine if I had more subtools. So if I loaded another project real quick, so if I loaded my Fight Club ones, so these are gonna be they're gonna make the file load faster when you open it, and also it's gonna save the history and camera work. It's going to save so much of what you don't need. You can't save like multiple iterations without it getting like super laggy. So I recommend doing this. I'll show you how I name my files too coming up, but just to like make it easier for you to navigate back years later. How I save file names. So I start with the project name, so Fantastic Fox _ version 0001 and then underscore start, and that's how I named the first file, and the rest I named after whatever I do on that file. So if I work on the clothes, if I just change the mustache, if I change the eyelids, if I change something about the head, like I move it down, I don't want to, it's a big change, I don't want to like worry about, if the ZBrush crashes and like it didn't save or whatever. it's just a reassurance for me to have multiple versions in case of corruption that sometimes does happen. And yeah, that's how I save file names. Also, it's fine if you want to save projects, but just know that they're going to be heavier. And how do I change documents? I go to document, and we can do is sometimes I'll screenshot my model, and I will and you can save a startup document. I'm not gonna do that now because I like the one I have now. And you can export also, but I can also change the rate as well. So you remember earlier where you did Control-N to clear it. Well, this you can also change the rate of the gradient. Some people get rid of it completely. That makes sense for doing turnarounds. Yeah, there's a flat blank. Let me show you the one I have now. So actually, since I started recording this tutorial, I've already changed my background again. And this is something that'll happen with projects too, this will get saved with it. So if you want to have that, with all the subtools, be my guest. But I like to save things. I like to save Ztools. So something to keep in mind, Blender, you don't really need to navigate the folder system as much, or if you're familiar with Maya, I can't remember, it's been such a long time, but what you do with ZBrush, unlike other programs, is you usually access the program files more so than you access the folders of the actual program itself. Unlike with other programs like Blender or whatnot, it kind of does it for you. What you want to do when you're ever loading materials, if you have a bunch, you want to add them to these menus here. If you want to add them to your startup, you want to look for the Z startup folder, and you can add them to there's a brushes menu for it, it's brush presets. If you want to have alphas you want to add. Also, your hotkeys are stored here, keep in mind. But these plugins go here. Those should have like a guide for you every time you download, but just keep in mind, this is where this is where the stuff in the lightbox goes. So if you ever have brushes, these are all mine. I have here. Yeah, whatever file you have, you just want to basically drag it to one of the other folder that you desire, and then it should come up. And I have like my hairbrush here loaded up for me to use. Anyway, all right, so one of the things you want to do if you don't want getting the pop-ups anymore, when you set a hotkey, so certain hotkeys will bring up a pop-up that says skip until restart. And I use this script I got off ZBrush Central's website. You just download it and you place into the folders you see here. So it tells you where to go, but you put one here and then one in the Z startup. I believe it's in Z plug 64. Yes, right here. So then what you want to do with materials is those are going to be in the materials folder. So go in here and you can just place these these are in the lightbox folder, and the ones that are in the startup are going to be in the startup folder. And you can just place those in the materials right here. Don't bite my hand. And you just place those, drag those in here. Ta-da! One more thing I would like to go over is that when you're loading materials, it's going to replace whatever material you have here. So pick an undesired one. So let's say matte cap red. Actually, not that one. That one's good. This one I don't really like. It's kind of the beginner's material, and I recommend loading the one you want to place that with. If you don't do the lightbox trick where I showed you where you can put tools in, I mean, that still works. So load a one you don't like, so maybe the reflective one, don't use that one. Go to material, and then it loads that one there, as you can see, and it replaces it. So whichever one you don't like is the one you should replace. Welcome to my head tutorial. We will be working on this. We won't get to the hair or anything. This is for another tutorial. So if you would like to come back to my channel and watch that later, but today we would be starting from a sphere and working our way to this. Yeah, stick with me and you might learn a thing or two. If that is not an interest to you, please skip to this point in the video. But yeah, we will be starting from navigation. So let's get started right now. Woo! Special thanks to my Patreon supporters, without whom I would not be making these tutorials. For every access to all my brushes, pure refs, $40 a month, and early access to the tutorials. I post the tutorials on YouTube later on my YouTube month. And a shout out to them because they make this all possible. Also, I would like to thank my sponsor for this video, GFeul, and you can use Chloe Worthy Art for 10% off on your GFeul order. I know it's crazy that I have a GFeul sponsor. I know, right? So the first thing I like to do whenever I'm making a model is gather all the references possible. I gather 3D references. This one's on my Patreon. And I also like to make another one of just the character itself. And yeah, style examples, yada yada. A good place to go for these kinds of things is either Pinterest or ArtStation or even your own model, as you can see here. One thing I want to go over to is some anatomical muscles underneath the face. I won't be going over everything, but I'll try to be hitting like the major ones. So the things that I think about when I'm either doing the face or some landmark, and this goes kind of hand in hand with either or. So now that you have, make sure you have your 3D references as well as your E, and we can go ahead and get started. So I have my sphere. Now what? When I'm looking at the portions of the head, artists will tend to kind of already understand landmarks, and if you don't, I would like to go over those briefly with you. Portions of the head. Now, and in this book and in real life too, it varies depending on the person. The proportions aren't always the same, but these just give you a general rule. If things are starting to look weird, then you kind of want to refer back to the usual guide for face proportions, or it's something to do with your reference, what have you. We're gonna go in with AccuCurve on the move brush, so turn that on. Gonna be in brush curve, AccuCurve. I'm gonna drag down, make sure symmetry is on, you're facing the front way. And there you go. Now that we have the face proportions, you want to remember that it goes in third. First third, which is the brow line, then the nose line, and then the chin. So this will be approximately where things go. The eyes will go here, the end of the nose will go here, and the lips will go around here. That's confusing, we'll get through it together. We'll flip curve, make an angle, alt click twice to drag down and make this sort of place where the neck will be. I'm gonna insert a cylinder. Necks are always cylinders, because keep that in mind. Shrinking it. We're not going to Dynamesh them together yet. We're switching back to move brush and smoothing out. Now that we have the head shape, I'm going to trim off some of the sides. Going with trim. So trim is BTR, I believe. I just have it set to 3. Shave off where the temples are. Sure you're switching between different angles, so I'm shift clicking to snap it to different angles. This gives you a better idea, since most references you want to be in this highly standardized orthographic. Sometimes you do want to understand like how perspective changes a face, but normally you want to sculpt in these orthographic views. Now I'm going to go in with a build up and make the socket for the eyes. So remember, the eyes are brow line about 3/4 down is here, so the eyes are going to be about here. Eyes are always farther down than you think, at least for me. I always tend to make them too high up, so I always end up moving it down more. I'm just gonna control drag with the mask pen to make the nose. Then pull out with a move brush, make the nose. I made the nose a bit too big here. Right up a little bit. Then for the lips, go down a subdivision, and you want to make a mound shape. Bit back here. Another subdivision. Go back down again, and then you kind of want to always stay in the lower subdivisions. This gives you a more control. Right now, the topology is kind of weird. It's kind of messing with things, so I'm gonna Dynamesh just to give the geometry a better feel. I just did 128. You kind of want to stay very low in this stage. It's actually kind of too high right now. You can see when I smooth, it takes forever, even when I do extremely. So I'm hitting shift and letting go, and that's still taking a while. So you kind of want to add maybe some more subdivisions. So what I'm going to do is save this. So I'm going to hit control, and I'm going to basically project this back onto a lower. I'm just going to Dynamesh lower. So you see how there's less here. I'm going to then control D again, adding subdivisions. Oop, I forgot to hit control. You can always go back and hit this. So control, click on the timeline, go forward, and then project history. They didn't used to have this, but now they do. So now you can see all my details are back, and now I have 3 subdivisions. And so when I smooth like this, it's much easier to smooth out. So now I have some subdivisions, and this isn't gonna be perfect since I'm kind of going very fast, but I really want to cover a lot. And one of the things I also want to cover is some anatomy. The thing about the eye socket is there's this circular muscle around it, also the eyelid, and that cover them. There's, I believe it's called the oculus oculi. Yeah, you don't really need to know the muscle names, but you do need to know what they look like and how they kind of affect everything. And so when you're looking at it from the side, you have this, the upper lid is always over the lower lid, right? And also the eye, I would recommend you use a separate mesh. So I'm just going to insert a sphere, and then I'm going to turn it 90 degrees. So I took it. Make sure you don't just grab onto this one. This one is the camera axis. So this will just basically off. See how it's moving with the camera. You want to try to grab this one, the red one. That's the X, I believe. Hold shift. You drag, it'll snap to the 90 degrees. I don't know if you saw that, but it snapped. See how it's now pointed directly forward. All right, we're gonna drag this over here again. All right, then we're gonna shrink this. And in the anatomy books, it says that there's always one eye length between each eye. I mean, it's pretty obvious as soon as you add a pupil that and eyelids over it, that when you're starting to get like a cross-eyed look, at least for me, I can tell. So I'm gonna leave them unpainted for now and just wing it. But I will eventually go in and paint one for you. I also have a tutorial that on my YouTube. Mirror and weld it. And actually, I'm gonna do a quick demo. So I'm just gonna select the inner. Hold on. See if I can grab it real quick for you. You don't have to do this. This is just something I like to do. Just grabbing this. I'm just gonna color it black. You don't know how to color things. I just hit Control Shift F. That's my hotkey for filling color. Fill object also here. We also just paint it. You just go in with the paintbrush and paint it, and then but make sure nothing else is selected. There you go. And then bring it back. Control Shift click on the outside, and they have your pupils, so that gives you a good idea. Oops, mirror and weld. Sometimes you'll have to do that because sometimes when you mirror, it's like mirroring to like the wrong side. So just sometimes you have to hit the mirror and the mirror and weld, if that makes sense. It's gonna look so funny, but we're gonna work with it. I'm actually gonna cover this. I'm on the 3rd subdivision level, and I'm making it look so angry. Very disconcerting. Like eyes, I think, are some people's enemy just because there's so much going on in this region. That's very fair, and it depends on a lot of like different factors. I'm gonna try to make it as easily like painless as. Here I am adding the under eye bags, but as you can see in a second, the topology is bad. Still switching between the different subdivisions, so as you can see here, I go lower and then go higher again and switch between the two. But we're working with it. We want to stay low as possible. Oh yeah, and it wraps around the eye. I might need to move the eye back a little bit. They're kind of bulging. So I just take the Gizmo tool and move it backwards, and then I switch back to the tool with Alt and mask out the eye, and then push in the corners to wrap around the eyelid. And you can see me just rotating the model to check all the different angles and to see what works. Now I'm looking at the model and analyzing, looking at my reference, and then using trim right here to smooth it out and smooth brush as well, and going up between the different subdivisions with those hotkeys we talked about earlier, checking every angle. And right now I'm seeing that it's really hard to manipulate, and so I'm gonna need to give it better topology, and so I'm about to launch into that in just a second. But right now you can see me just trying to finagle what I have left, and then I launch into just trying to get as close as I can as possible before I remesh or Dynamesh. You want to use with what you have. For the sake of this demo, I really wanted to nail in trying to get as close as possible with what you have, the topology you have starting off. because in 3D modeling, the more polygons you have, the harder it is to manipulate. So as you can see, I usually go down to the lower, so like right here I'm making the forehead shape. I'll go to the lower and then move that topology that way because it just creates a smoother. Also here I am talking about the forehead anatomy. On women it's a bit softer, that forehead poking out. On men it's a bit more prominent. Back to the eyes, getting kind of frustrated here, like the topology isn't right and I don't have like enough like on the lower to manipulate, so I'm switching to the nose. And with the nose, never mind, I got upset with the eyes again, so here I am doing the thing I talked about earlier where the under eye is again underneath the lower, and I didn't like the selection, so I redid it using GeoBrush. Alright, let's see, that's cool. Anywho, I am a bit all over the place with the head, but there's so many plane changes in the head that it can be really difficult to get this surface right, because if you don't get the head looking right, everything, like people notice the face first, right? So that's something you want to keep in mind, like why it's so difficult. Well, it's because we're keen to look at faces and really analyze them first. With reference, I'm just getting a base face. Oh, another thing is this area is very slightly rounded, so the eyes still look kind of swollen, but this will be, there is a muscle that goes across the face here. I forget the name of it, but it creates a lot of this like overlap here. It's not on this image, but you can see it in other ones. And you see me right now, I'm always moving the camera, and unlike with 2D, you are in a 3D space and you need to be able to move to different angles and see how the face looks, and that will help you a lot. Carving into the nose. Oh, should I have done a lower subdivision? Pushing that up, making the nose shape here. There's these like little teardrops underneath the nose. Dig in, alt clicking with play build up. And the shape of the nose will always be like this like tapered shape. I mean, they're of course different shaped noses, but they're always gonna have this like subtle tapering. Even if it's like very straight, it's gonna still like taper a little bit. You see how this like tapers down, like tapers out, like that. Tapers out, and then if it's looking weird, just like slightly pull it out. I mean, if it's stylized, then that's fine, but it's still gonna have some taper. No matter what, I always see a taper on the nose. It always starts here and goes out. So this is getting kind of what I like my noses to look like, so I want to pull this in a little bit. I don't like it too thin of a, nostril here. Just backface mask, brush, auto masking, backface mask. I turn that on for remove brush, and I turn it off. I leave that on the menu. Now, these aren't done, like none of these features are done, but I'm blocking them in very quickly to kind of push us along. Bag area. Again, you can just you'll polish this in a minute. Create the lips. Okay, so now that I have this mound here, right, you see from this angle, there is this, not flat. That's the shape you want to go for. Shout out to Danny Mac. He has a really good tutorial on lips that I love. I've always kind of struggled with them. So I just create this shape. Actually, your eye, the end of the middle of the eye, ends of the mouth will be in the middle of the eye, right here. And then it's approximate, right? And the like that. So then we're gonna just hit R or stroke, repeat last. But you don't want to move anything because then it's not going to repeat the last stroke you did. So you just want to make the mark and then play last, Alt R. Not doing it, so I'm going to hit over here. Looks pretty good. No, it's not. Doesn't look. This looks horrifying, but we're working with it. go with damp standard, I think. Ooh, put the intensity down a little bit. Here I am going in with, I believe, is it damp standard? Yes, or GeoBrush works either or. And you want to turn on lazy mouse to get like a smooth line, and also make sure you're not interfering with the line of symmetry too. That will help. Horrifying, right? Well, I'm noticing a couple things right now. One, the lips are a bit too low, so I'm going to mask them out and then move them up, and I'm going to do that by using, of course, the mask pen like we talked about earlier. And then I will then use the Gizmo tool to then move it up, and you can see me locking that into position and moving it up, and then smoothing out the edges. And it's still, all the features are still like a work in progress. Like you can see here, the tops of the lips I messed up because of the topology underneath, but again, you know, you want to start somewhere, and it's okay if things look bad initially. You're not meant to be perfect off the start. And here I am reiterating one of the concepts, which is that the lower lip is under the top lip, and you can see me pushing out the Cupid's bow, or not Cupid's bow, the top lip part shape going with the edge of the move brush, because this will give me a bit full. Now you can see it's a bit lumped here. Go in. I also think this is my topology, so I'm going to... I see that I'm not really happy with the lip shape, and like even when I go to the low, that's not really holding up the structure, but I'm going to go ahead and insert the ears. And what the inserting the ears is going to allow us to do is when we Dynamesh, we'll have them already attached, and it just creates a nice look to have the ears already attached, and I feel like we can go ahead and do that. So you need to delete lower, and then you're inserting the ears, and you can see the head is masked out. So what you want to do is split unmasked, and the hotkey here BIP for the tool, for the ear tool. And here I am trying to figure out the position. For the position, it's around, I believe, the top of the eyebrow line, and then the bottom of the ear matches the top of the lip, I think. I'm keeping this also in regular speed because I want you to see how slow the sculpting process is. A lot of times tutorials are deceptive on how long things take, and even someone who has like 5 years experience, it takes a while. I think it's 6 years experience, I think. Anywho, I get things wrong. As you can see there, I always mess up the Gizmo tool. I'm switching back between the move brush and the Gizmo tool to create more of a natural look on the ear, because this brush isn't perfect and it doesn't match the style or whatever I have in mind. Also, keep in mind that ears are all different. For older people, the lobe usually droops a bit more because that part is cartilage and it continues to grow as you age. There's several other features that do that too, but I'm gonna keep it simple for now. And before I Dynamesh everything together, I wanted to create a quick chest piece. You don't have to do this in yours. Of course, it makes things a bit more natural than just like a floating head. Here I put an example of a meme, which I thought it looked like right now. I really just quickly wanted to go over this. You know, we're not going to the chest anatomy or anything like that today. Oops. But I wanted to show you, just keep this process in, this little part, even though it has nothing to do with the head anatomy. I thought it would be really odd if I didn't show this part. It just appeared all of a sudden. So here I am trying to figure out the proportions really quickly, and oh, this looks odd. Good job, Chloe. Do the Zremesher. What I'm going to do is basically create some groups. So I'm going to draw a circle on the eyes, and you're doing this to create a... Oh, I forgot to Dynamesh. So I just merged down the ears to the head, and now I'm going to quickly Dynamesh. Alright, then we're going to group. I'm going to Control W everything. Here I actually turned it around and saw that there was something wrong with the neck. Usually, the reason why you split the two up is because there's a muscle that goes underneath the ear. And I actually didn't include that, but I'll show you a diagram like right now, what that looks like. But there is a couple things you need to take into account when you Dynamesh everything together. Like usually you don't want too thin of parts, so and you want to kind of move things close together and make it easy for the Dynamesh, and otherwise you get like weird artifacts. So you can see me like when I did the ears, I made sure the ears were close enough to the mesh that it will solidify and not make these weird artifacts. And here I am pulling out the chin. I noticed that the back chin area, sorry, the jawline was a bit odd, and here I am using control drag to Dynamesh. And then now I'm going to start grouping for the Zremesh, and you want to do this to make it easier for ZBrush to like understand that the plane changes, or like make it easier for it to select things. I'm probably gonna do this twice in the tutorial. So the first time I'm going over like the basic stuff just to give you a better like topology to sculpt on. So here I am, just Control W after mask pinning. I'm here going to click Control Shift click on the mesh. Well, no, I'm going back to just normal and Control W. But here you can see I'm seeing like what else I need to select. The ears, like that one thing. So ears, eyes, nose, mouth, and the neck is attached. I'm not gonna do that. And then I'm just gonna hit Zremesh kind of low. You can do like half in the settings, but for now I'm trying to just pick like a random number. I don't want to go too low, because we go too low, it messes things up, and you can experiment with this. Because it's an algorithm and it's not like hand remeshing, it's not gonna be as good. And that's okay, because we're still, you know, making things look good. So you can kind of use Zremesher as a tool, and what this does is it allows us to get some semblance of a good topology, but not like the best. So yeah, I'm just projecting history, and I think I've already gone over this. I should have. But anyway, that brings all the details back. You can Control D up and then projects history to bring it all back. And yeah, here I am just checking things out. Like I'm noticing that I need to like push those in around the eyes, going back and fixing the eyelids that I did earlier, and or moving the eyelids eyes farther apart. Yeah. And again, things are always in flux, so I might one thing, but whatever. Here I'm going to go over SeeThrough Mode, so let me just give you a quick tutorial on that. Just to basically compare. Finish the lips first. Oops, okay. Well, anyway, we'll go back to the lips in a second, but what you want to do is kind of overlay it. Okay, so it's not all the way on top. I'm going to alt tab back over to ZBrush, then I'm going to basically turn this on, and you're going to try to match the proportions. This head's kind of turned this way, so you want to keep that in mind. Oh, his lips are very like long. I'm already noticing some things. Eyes are huge. That means I'm gonna need some more anime-esque like features, and what you do is then look up how other people have interpreted them if you're struggling. So I kind of struggle with this a little bit when I'm making huge eyes. I always tend to make it a bit smaller, a bit more realism. So the one example I strive for is this like Lupin-esque anime eye, where it's this kind of like realism mixed with the like bigger eye. I wanted to shoot for this. I'm not going exactly for this, but again, you see like this high lips, you see these like bigger eye, like how big these eyes are in comparison to say like some of my other pieces where I tend to go for more like, you know, you've probably seen my work, but they're more, the eyes are smaller, let's just say that. Right. Is actually big mental note too, so like I'm like, okay, lips I make really small, and like we don't have to match it to the exact reference because there's a ton of interpretations of Griffith. Like there's the manga, there's the anime, there's like several different sculpts that has been done. Do whatever you like and try to get in the range of the character. Again, don't go for 100% or what, just do what you want. But I'm showing you a technique that can help. I'm not here to like boss you around. Again, these eyes, I hope so. I think this is actually good. I marked that earlier, and then I don't really find this technique helpful. I rarely use it. I find that this is just, like having the reference here is more beneficial, or doing paintovers. I don't really find, again, this is the way I work, but do what you like. here to just show you technique out back a little. It's a dialogue between the reference, how you're feeling. 3D isn't, you know, it's not perfect immediately. If it is, then you're goated. But I'm marking out where this line would be, and I smooth it out. You don't really want to emphasize this too much unless you're going for like an older character, but I like to indicate that's there. Okay, I'm making the mark for the nose. I'm having trouble. So I'm going to trim dynamic or game standard. Eyes are a bit upturned, so I'm gonna go into the low and do that. There we go. Here is gonna be a bit pushed in. We're looking really good. Okay, I'm excited. It's not like you're like, wait, this kind of looks ugly, Chloe, but it trust me, like, there's much worse ways it could be looking. Got this like very straight eye. No idea, but upper eyelid, I kind of want to mimic in the sculpt, so I'm going into the low, and actually I want to move the brow bone. You don't really see this. I mean, you see it sometimes, but it's more in stylized. You can like really push these like sort of features, so like just like straight. You're not going to see in a ton of models. It's usually a bit softer, a bit more round. I could pull up some other models, but for now I'm just kind of how you can like move your sculpt to match the features. Oh, this is all weird in here. And with the ears, people tend to do like a very like, I'm gonna draw it for you. So you can either go with this more complex that's on the profile on the PureRef, or you can go with this one that you usually see in drawing, where you have like this will be the part that's pulled out, like the inner ear, and then this is the rest of the ear, where it's very simplified. I kind of do a mix of both. I don't really like to go too detailed, but I also don't like to go too simplistic. I kind of do whatever my heart feels like. Whatever you want, honestly. And no one really pays attention to the ears. They pay attention to the proportion, the position, but they don't go, ooh, like, I mean, they all feed into each other, like the design, for sure. Like if you're going for the really simplistic look, like if you're going for like, say like way stop motion, but I kind of like what I prefer is gonna mix. So I think it's very interesting. Like you saw that one reference. I love this where it is kind of simplified. Well, not really. There's this bump here. I could talk all day about ears, but yeah, anyway. I do like to include this part of the ear. I don't know what it's called, but I like it. The lobe, of course. Some people's are attached, some aren't. I personally like it detached. I don't know what Griffiths look like. I can't tell because he's got hair in front of him, so it doesn't really matter. Oh, here's a little bit more realistic here. And I'm gonna pull it out in a minute. Oh, and this on the ref, so... Oh, it looks kind of odd still. Okay, it's kind of got a weird chin. I'm gonna make this indent here, this like chin muscle over. So this is, the upper lip goes over the lower, and there isn't, usually when I look at 3D sculpts, I'll see this like, there's like a huge duck lip shape. So like this, where it kind of just is so protruding, and that's a very easy mistake to make. Because with lips, you're working with subtlety. I mean, the other features are also subtle and can be impacted greatly by one another. With lips, I see it like very easy because there's so much like topology interacting with each other. It can get very hectic very fast. So you want to take your time and really perfect it. And maybe you don't struggle with this. I don't know. It really depends on the artist. But one of the things I also see a lot too, and I used to struggle with, is that this area here, so this is where the lip ends. So there's like a muscle that goes over, I believe it's like around here. Anyway, it's where the lip ends. Otherwise you have this like Joker-esque smile that never, this doesn't look like it, almost like the lips are cut here. So you want to make sure that you have that piece of fat there. I think it's fat or muscle, I'm not sure. I'm gonna get to sculpting because I gotta stop talking, hold on. In the Cupid's bow. I got the little shape wrong. Okay, so I'm gonna start over again. Oops. For every angle. That piece of fat there. I don't just want to pull like this piece over like this. Like it's so subtle, but also affects everything. Okay. This out. Shelf of the lip needs to come out a little bit. I'm highlighting the edges, and I'm going to use a move brush and tap to blur it, and then I'm pulling it out slightly. You're playing with subtlety, like that is the key with faces, is you're not going for like the most extreme, like the most, you're taking your time, you're sitting back and you're going, okay. Right now, I'm looking, the eyes are weird here. I was probably talking and I didn't get the exact shape right. The topology is like really weird here. I probably need to re-Dynamesh, but that's okay. Like you're not worried too much about like, getting it perfect 100% of the time. Like you're doing something that's complex and not the easiest. So you're like problem solving. So I'm going, okay, I'm going to now highlight this because I know that I can control things a lot easier with masking than it is to sculpt. So what I'm going in with is the mask, and then I'm going to then pull this in because I know I can easily move things when they're masked. Because otherwise other things get pulled. Like I didn't want to move this part, but I wanted to move this. You're taking your time and you're letting things simmer and you're sitting back and you're going, this doesn't look right. Let's figure this out together. Faces are a very hard thing to get right, and if they don't look right, it is very noticeable. So why I've taken so long to make this, because it's such a hard thing to do. And like mind intensive. I'm looking, checking. When I spin, I'm always looking. I'm like, okay, this looks weird to me. I'm taking note. Kind of needs a bit more of a brow ridge here. It's hard to tell in the reference again because he has hair covering. You want to look at maybe a celebrity or a what have you. I'm pulling in this a little bit because I know that this needs to kind of be over here. There is the bone of the actual skull is here, and I need it to be a bit more prominent because it looks too rounded. You see, now I have this nice. There's a muscle that goes into here, and it's very subtle, so you don't want it to be too like straight here. Like there is tissue covering and whatnot, so I'm just going to pull this in like slightly. This is the muscle right here. You can't really see it, but it's there. He's always there. I'm getting around it. Okay, I'm gonna pull this out a little bit. Oops. Okay, I went too far forward. That's okay. We make mistakes. The eyes still look like they're bulging. But again, we're working with anime eyes, so they're gonna be they're huge. There's also this line here. Show you a diagram. Let me show you something. Okay, this right here is what I'm talking about. So there's this tissue here underneath the lip that you want to pay attention to. Ooh, turn this intensity down a little bit. The clay buildup. And pull the chin forward a little bit. I'm doing the recessive virgin chin right now. That's okay, we're playing with subtlety. You never want to push it too far any which way. You want to take your time in the low, pulling things, pushing things with move and masking. I feel like this would work better. Oh, and for the neck, I'm not gonna go too much into the neck because that's a whole other course, I feel. But the V-neck, you know, this like V shape here, and then there's this muscle underneath the ear that kind of starts up here and goes this way. I kind of just end up faking it and try to make it look as accurate as possible without like deleting the ears. That's why it's separate right now. Usually I can get away with like masking and like pulling things. I was taught to like not include the ears until this was finished, but I think that the ears are such an vital like step in the base making process. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, now we're gonna create some eyebrows and eyelashes. I think that's an important step into this process because it can help like start to make things look cleaner and give us like a better sense of like where to go, because right now I'm thinking like, okay, that's just the fastest way to push this forward. All right, let's add some eyebrows. So I'm masking, then I'm going to extract. Mask, and I'm going to extract using the extract, which is over here. And it's, if you can control, you can see it's in tool, subtool, extract. So it's over here. Extract right there. Then you want to hit accept, and so otherwise when you move the camera that you haven't accepted it yet, so you're going to extract and then accept it, and then you can create. Actually, I don't like the shape. I'm gonna start over again because I'm looking at his and they're so clean. I kind of just, you want to get as clean as you want, as clean as you can. I'll turn that off so I can see. His eyebrows are up here, very feminine, and they're kind of like this. I'm gonna draw. Again, we can tweak this, but this is just a cleaner, better example for you kids. Alright, extract, and then I hit Control Shift, click on this one, and then you're going to delete hidden, and then you're going to polish features. I'm going to remesh and then polish by features. I'm going to remesh again. Then I hit Alright, let's see. Is it picking up my voice something? I'm noticing that it's not picking up my voice like every time. And we clear the mask. Good for now. I'm definitely going to tweak the topology, but for now it's just a landmark. Mesh. They're going to go to the Zmodeler, so it's BZM, and then you're going to hover over the face, and then QMesh, polygroup all, oops, and flip it. And we're going to do the same with the eyelashes, so I might just speed that up in the recording. But see, this is not complete yet, but we're working. And his eyelashes, they're so distinct. They're like, ooh, they're like, Oh yeah, we need to go in and clean that up. That's what that is. Okay, extract. That's two different polygroups, so that's why I did that. So Control W, delete hidden, remesh, whatever. We're trying to get like we're just trying to get a clean line, but you can see honestly, let's polygroup, polyloop, get these. And then I might take the no, those are not clean, so I just want this one. Keep one of these edge loops, that many. We're taking this line, remember? Deleting every other one. Yesterday, you were. I used to stand so tall, used to be so strong. You're on to me tie. So edge, extrude, edge loop. There you go. I can make that thicker that way. We're gonna make the undercurrent by just extruding a loop underneath. So there you go. Same thing we did earlier, just like underneath. You saw me click on it. This edge is like all borked, so I'm gonna get rid of that. Ooh. You can't really make like good tries in ZBrush, so I wouldn't even try, huh? I wouldn't even try. I would do that in Blender, but for now it just gives like a base for sculpting or for like, yeah, for reference. And then we're gonna do the same for the bottom. So we'll speed that up and comp. Ooh, it's so fast. Wow, 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 wow. Actually, we just take this one and then just move this down. So like, look, watch this. Boom. Actually, we don't. We want this to go in, so we're gonna delete this part. We're just gonna hit the edge of it. So we're just gonna, oops, wrong one. We're gonna insert, sorry, and then alt click and alt delete. I don't know if I said that. Then we're gonna get rid of this one and then extrude inward. And all done. Not really. Really long eyelashes here. I'm gonna trim this in part. So the lasso, delete hidden. Bit low, don't divide up, we're just getting the shape. The mask. I saw earlier, I need to dig in more. So I'm gonna select this. Been forever digging, so I'm going to out once that moves or that move. Griffith side reference. Jawline I always get tricky with. Let me look at. Is this almost what I have here or something? I always, and they go back and forth. That bit better. The jawline kind of ends at the middle of the lip right here. So, not ends, but it's like the curve, like the points. So like this. There, sort of. It depends. faces are so weird. Eyes still like so bulging to me. And the eyebrows too. Okay, hold on, look. This is why we go from every angle. Yeah, I'm going to use the eyelashes on marker. I'm just like, push them in more, Chloe. What, taking me an hour to do? Not that bad. And unlike 2D, 3D is a bit more forgiving in that you can work on something for a while and see improve. This isn't to say that you should camera onto something till it's mush. You should definitely take breaks and step back for a while. Here I did speed this process up a little bit. I don't like to do that much across this tutorial. I wanted to keep it as you know, realistic as possible, but for some reason past me kept this sped up. I think it's very self-explanatory though. I'm going in, refining features, and you'll have a lot more time than I do for this particular video, but I had to get to editing, and of course that takes time as well out of my workday. But I wanted to go over this really quickly, so here is more touching up, and the lids are making them slightly thinner, yada yada. Pins. His are way low. His are like, there's nothing here, and then it like starts here. Very rounded face, very feminine. Like Mads, who start like up here, and it's just like this. That's Mads Mikkelsen right there. But Griffith, yeah, again, those facial features vary greatly. Get rid of some of these loops here almost. It's fine for now. I think it's like pointing inwards too much. Like the bottom is be pulled out. I'm gonna mask, I'm gonna transpose. And here, I don't. Oh, he's struggling. I mean, we're almost there. Like, we're getting close. And one last thing you can do if you're... This is nowhere near done for me, but I like to add hair. This still needs a ton of work to get where I want it to be. Like, I think I need to move the eyes down, yada yada. But just one more tip for y'all. Besides, like, adding PolyPaint, which I have another tutorial for that. I'm going to add the hair. And I'm gonna start, just make the bangs a separate piece. I'm just gonna mask out, extract. Always add it into a separate folder, so drag it down, F, and then label it hair, so you can hide it when you want to go back and work on the head. So you're gonna add multiple pieces, and it can get kind of hectic. Now, mask it, extract. Oh, I took that off. This is just the hair piece, like it's not, it is important, but it's not, it's the hair cap. So messy. Dynamesh it. Your life is your oyster. Oh my god, that's so messy. I'm gonna inflate it. I'll use this to draw on top of for the hair, but that's a different tutorial, but a different day. But you see, you can already see, like, I'm like, okay, let's see. Nose, a bit more upturned, lips still need to be a bit more plush, yada yada. I'm gonna get this finished though. I take the head and I screenshot it, so I hit Shift S at different angles. I use light shot. You can do document, export. I export it as a document. Hit export, document export, export it as an image, yada yada. Also crop it in there. I don't really tend to do that. But now we're gonna go into Photoshop or whatever you want. Okay, so now that we have it here, the most important thing that you do and that you learn from me, at least this is what helps me, I don't care what everyone else does. When you make changes, you want to make sure you have the original image below the changes, otherwise it's useless to me and to whoever, because I don't know what you changed if you do a paint over and you don't have the original below. I hit Control Shift Paste. I want it directly over and I don't want to edit this one, so I honestly want to lock it. You don't want to move it, you don't want to do anything, but if you liquefy like there is, it's just gonna mess you up. You want to make sure you have something to compare to. I ask this out of all the people. I don't ask for much when I ask for paint overs, but I want the original so I can compare and flip between them, because when you do like changes, so if I rasterize it, Control Shift X to liquefy, let's see, and I want to compare between them, I want to have the first one on top and the other one below. So now we're going to look at a reference and then compare. This allows you to get a better idea of, you know, where's my Puros, bro? Windows 11. All right. This allows you to look at, you know, 2D references, because since 2D is in the 2D space, you can now really take your time and be like, yeah, I know I need to add the lashes, like the lips need to be fuller. And this gives you a chance to go in and paint over it. So I actually want to add another layer and start marking it. I'm gonna blend it in with a sculpting. You don't have to do this. It doesn't need perfect. I understand that I need to make the lips bigger. Yada yada. I'll need to do it for every angle, but whatever angle that reference is on. So this is the 3/4, but like turn it a little this way. Yeah. I understand I need to do like some more. I'm not the best Photoshop painter. I prefer Procreate, but I'm gonna do my best. I probably should make these dark. I should probably start painting. That gives me way better. If I do a liquefy, I make sure I merge Shift X and then I go in. Otherwise, if this moves and the painting isn't on top. With Procreate, I believe you can do liquefy multiple layers, but with Photoshop you can't. This needs to be a bit more curved up. I did a bit more straight. Yeah, this just gives you a better idea. I think the eyes need to be moved down, honestly. Not the best Photoshop. Eyes are so bulging. Hold on. Oh yeah, it's so... I'm speed running this process, so there's some subtlety and contemplation, but when you're talking to a microphone, I do tend to forget where I am and what I'm doing. Like, oh, I should have seen that below, but no, I was talking to the imaginary people on my screen. I just want to move this down. Like, it's in my heart. I think there's the like face awareness stuff now. That's pretty helpful. I don't know what version of Photoshop you have, but that's pretty helpful, I guess. Things down. Eye height, maybe? I don't know what that does. Whoa. Oh, it's the entire... Whoa. Eye distance. Whoa. That's cool. Learning things. Maybe we can select 2. No. I always tend to make the eyes high. That's just what I do too. So if you don't do it, then don't worry about it. If you struggle with the eyes, but I don't, you know, doesn't matter. See, now I can compare, so we're getting there. Add some light here. This needs to be pulled out more. This needs to be more like luscious. And then I'll take note too, so I'll write the changes I do, like I'll write in a different color, so I'll write it in like a red on a different layer, so it'll be just a mark for myself. So I'll say like eyelash bottoms. You may think like, why do I need this? Well, sometimes I forget like what I did, like compare the two. So more upper lip. Fix this too. This is like weird. Working this for myself, like add bangs. I did, but that may help me. Got a fietta lip. Pulling that out. It feels so powerful with this. This is weird. Cheek fat here, I think. Push nose in. There we go. This handwriting is so bad, but I usually type it out. I can read it. Nose up. Define features. Yeah, that's how I do that. How I do it. That's how I do it. So I'll usually have that in the other stream, like place, and I will flip between the layers. So flipping between the layers shows me two things. It shows me that like what it was before and what it's supposed to look like after, and this helps me a lot to make more precise changes. And I really recommend you doing this. It's helped me a lot because I make mistakes, and so will you. And it gets you out of like working in ZBrush and like working in another program. And here you see me go about. Sorry, gives you a second like view. So hear me going about making those changes. So I'm like working the eyes, nose. Like here I'm masking the top lip with mask pen, and to edit that. So I don't believe in redrawing things. You can easily manipulate with masking and moving. Some people like believe in that, like need to like resculpt everything once it's done. I'm like, I think I can get away with like masking and moving. Here I am going to edit where the lips meet the nose, and this has happened sometimes when you're making like faces. Like some of the meshes get all like wonky, so you just go in with masking and fix it. It's perfectly normal thing that happens, so that's what I recommend you do, because there's a lot of surfaces that are like very close to each other, and you can spend a lot of time like doing each thing individually, but you can also, I'm showing you a way where you can use masking to manipulate those different changing surfaces. But yeah, that's why masking is so powerful, and I am going to hammer that into your head this whole video. If you have gotten this far, which I commend you if you have, because I think we're like an hour or two in. But yeah, thanks for sticking around. And thanks for watching so far. Here I am again, using Tpose Mesh to move everything. So that's in Z plugin, and what this allows you to do is move multiple objects without having to merge anything. And you can see I'm grouping the eyes, and then realizing that I'm not in symmetry, turn X on, and I'm going to move the eyelids, excuse me. So I'm grouping all those together. I'm moving the lids first, and then going to move the whole eye. It's you'll see. Yeah, there you go. The eyelids, then the eyes. Yeah, I don't want to cut too much out because you can see how long these things take, and people ask me to leave a lot of the errors and whatnot. I try to cut it out as much as I can and try to make this as realistic as possible. Here I am going back after I move the eyes down and getting back to sculpting. I was just editing the neck. This isn't necessary. I recommend you spending a lot of time on this too. Here I am editing the cheeks a little bit, pulling them out. It's a little bit sped up, but it's really basic, just gentle movements. I like to take things slow. A lot of people spend a lot of time on this, and I don't have a lot of time on this because of it's a tutorial and I need to be quick with it. Also, here I am starting with the PolyPaint process, and I import things with the spotlight and then color pick, although it doesn't really look good. So I end up like changing the color to match like my preferences. It's kind of like a dead skin right here, so I'll pretty heavily edit. Well, he's a very pale character, but I wanted him to still have life in his features, and I'm not going to go over too much of this process. Like, I have a whole other tutorial on that, so if you're curious, please watch that. I'm not going to go into depth here. We're here to like learn the basics and to like learn face anatomy. So if you'd like to watch that video, link is below. Also, just scroll through my channel. It's my most popular video. I go into like subsurface scattering, how to do it, like different techniques, color picking, yada yada yada. Highly recommend. Also, I learned a new tool, the Z Color tool, which allows you to pick colors from without importing it into Spotlight. I learned that one recently from my friend Victor, so I'll probably be using that. I don't think it's enough to make a new tutorial. Maybe. We'll see. Right now, I'm just trying to finish this one and get this out to you guys. Now I'm inserting a mesh I can use. I'm just going to use this and then grab square. Really hidden. It says the eyelash parts. It needs to be a bit saturated. Just colors. Oops, let's just finish eyelash. Okay. Here I am using the Gizmo tool, manipulating the basically poly modeling in ZBrush with the Zmodeler tool and the Gizmo, masking out things. I highly recommend you get used to doing some low poly stuff in ZBrush. You don't have to like go full tilt and learn everything, but it is good to know the basics because I've found that a lot of times it's easier to poly model something than it is to sculpt it, or to poly model it and then sculpt on top of it, because it gives you a much cleaner thing to sculpt on, or to, you know, the eyelashes here. You know, again, if you want to attach things with like triangles and stuff, I highly recommend doing that in Blender. But if you're like really new to sculpting, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. Or sorry, if you're new to 3D, you're like, what are you talking about with this poly modeling stuff? Well, it's basically like basic modeling with like squares. That's all 3D is like points on a plane and like coordinates. It's all math. Like everything in this is math, and it's evil. I'm kidding, it's not evil. It is. It can feel like math. That's what I'm saying. What am I saying? Anyway, back to the hair. Fun stuff. But anyway, ZBrush takes a lot of the math stuff out, but there's still some you can implement that I think will help benefit you. So, yeah. Oh yeah, and another thing with the hair is that can help you place things. Oh my god, the eyes are still messed up. I just was going so fast, I don't even care. Don't even fix it. I think it's still like this actually on the model. Again, since you're on your own and you're not making a tutorial, you can spend as much time as you want on things. You can like research like, okay, I want to make faces look like this, and I highly recommend you do that. But I was trying to go fast, trying to get this video out, and I have a ton to edit, so I didn't spend a lot of time like, you know, perfecting the features, although I wish I did. But again, I'm here to like teach you about the fundamentals of ZBrush, here to teach you like my overview of my steps, and it's gonna be pretty most of the time. Like it's gonna be messy because 3D can be messy because there's so much that goes into it, and it's important that you do what you want to do too. So if you don't like my method, then do what you want to do, so like research that. But here I am just showing you my methods, like overview. And this is something I would want if I was like beginning, is like oh, like how do you make this? Then, you know, a year from now I probably won't be making it like this, but for now this is how I sort of do things some of the time. It depends on the day, but yeah, most of the time I do it like this. So wanted to, since people have been asking, I wanted to give a basic overview. Here I am just moving things, and it's a lot of voiceover too, but I figured I would fill most of the dead space with stuff. Eyelids still not looking good, so I'm fixing those. Just giving you what I'm thinking in my head type of deal. Oh yeah, pushing those in, wrapping it around the eye, yeah. Looks a bit weird, yeah, but it's gonna be okay, yeah. I'm just adding the red part of the eye, the inner corner. I don't know if I have a diagram for that, but I can the old. I'm not sure like how other people do it, but I see a couple people like pick up part of the body mesh, but sometimes I just like to make it a separate subtool. I extract after masking and I kind of sink it in, and it gives it a bit more realism and I think a bit of flavor. Smooth it out. We change the color. I don't know. It's a bit dull right now, the colors. Look, something's wrong with the perspectives. The color, I don't like the face color. Pink is weird. Oh, it's dark. Ugh. Didn't work. Okay. Okay, here I'm going to go back to editing the hair. I think although I'm not making this a hair tutorial, that's for the other one I already made. This is something I edit to help me see, face proportions. Like if anything's wrong, I recommend you do this if you are struggling with some face features, because once you have the other pieces, it really makes more sense when you if you can like match it to the reference. Go, oh, like this hair piece is like this far down, but the eyes aren't this far. It's all like in relation to each other. So if you're already know like face proportion stuff, like this is all not news to you. But if you're like a very beginner, you've never like been introduced to this like technique, that's what I'm telling you now, is because this is like a tutorial meant for beginners. And if you're watching this, you probably are a beginner. If you're one of my friends watching this and you already know a lot of Zbrush, you're probably like, Chloe, why am I even here? And I ask you, like, I don't know why you're here. Why are you watching this? You already know everything in Zbrush. Anywho, this is meant for beginners mostly, and I'm here to teach you the very basics and to give you tools and techniques that will help you in sculpting. And my friends who have lots of Zbrush experience, they want to watch this, and I'm like, why? Anywho, but they want to support me, and that's very sweet of them. But yeah, they've a lot of my friends have helped me and given me, paintovers over the years, and like, or new techniques. And so sometimes if I give you a technique, like especially the ones I'm learning like now, like I'm learning 3D printing, and that I've learned entirely through my friends, and I'm giving it to you in a video for, well, not yet, but I'm making the tutorial now, and that's all learned through word of mouth. And so by making these videos, I hope to also preserve like some of the stuff people have taught me and the stuff that I have learned. You just see me going through the process of editing the nose. Why am I paused here for so long? Anywho, probably had a brain fart moment. Just editing, tweaking, always tweaking. Not in that kind of way. Tweaking as in moving very slowly. You see me always like moving things. Oh, we made it like this, so let's see this thing now. Okay, maybe move this. Oh, let's add an eye highlight now. Okay, let's do it. I'm inserting eye highlights. I like to do this because I can move them around after, not to repaint the eye. I need to repaint the eye. Also, when you mirror them, they're not exactly symmetrical. So when you Control Shift D, then we'll mirror. It's gonna be on that side. You want it to be actually on this side. So, and then delete the other one. Delete hidden. Yeah. Go. You can see it on the reference. Looking a lot like Griffith on the side profile. Love it. Moving along. Saw earlier that I added some texture in it just to match the reference more. This gives you landmarks, so you see like this curve right here. I'm looking at the ears. I'm like, okay, maybe I need to turn the ears out a bit more so I can select them. Even though this isn't the final hair, I can pull this out like so. He's got a bit of like an elf-like appearance, sort of. I think it's good to come up with words to compare things to, because then you can be like, okay, maybe I need to look up elf reference. I don't think I need to yet, but if I do, it's like that kind of mysticism aspect to his appearance. I'm going to duplicate these, so I'm going to mirror these across the y-axis. Hopefully that works. They should be up there, yeah. I'm going to select those, delete the bottom, and then drag these down. And hopefully I can match them up to the... I might be able to use a Gizmo tool. Let's try. Let's do this together. Maybe big curve. Ooh. See if this works. Never used this before. Nope. Okay, I'm just gonna use Zbrush. I don't know. I got scared. But that's like one of the tools I see people use with the hair. I just use Zbrush. I'm a bit too simple. Oh, what happened to the other ones? Oh, okay, I think I deleted the wrong ones. Alright, so Control Shift D. And then I like to undo the ones that I messed up. So I got rid of these. Okay. There you go. Go back to these. Alt click on switch the subtool. And then looking a bit flat. Getting there. We're getting there though. Like I don't need to do a lot more painting on the face. Do the arcane technique of... Even though this is like very swollen here right now, that's my fault. I always used to make this area like super deep, so that's why I'm always cautious of making it too deep. As I want them to be also the highlight that I was talking about. No, this is so lumpy in here. And what I want to do actually is make a mouth bag in here. That may be really scary though for you. Might do it. Okay, let's do it. Adjust a little bit more, and then should be good to go. Work up the courage. The eyes. He's got this like really bright ring. I would polygroup, but I'm kind of trying to go fast. But usually I would like polygroup this to make it more cleaner. But I'm just trying to speed through the process. So I'm using a paintbrush on the ref. Huge. even farther out. It's actually, I made them too bigger, like the actual iris itself is a lot larger. Take your time with this part, like I showed you in my eye tutorial though. Just like this one, and then just grab it right here and make the black. I use the poly groups that are, like I would group each line maybe, and then do that. You can also mask by polygroup, so if I have this one I could make that one that color, but I don't have time right now. Be too much selecting, and we're gonna make a mouth bag. It's all about time and when you're sculpting, unfortunately. Okay, I got time for this, I don't have time for that, I don't have time for this. So he's got this line here I kind of want to include. Oh, and the inner eye is pink, so you want to include that as well. So go to the highest again. Oops. Paintbrush. What it's called in makeup, I think. I like to mix colors here, so I like this pink, but I don't like it too pink, so I'm trying to make it a bit more saturated here. This is weird in here. Ugh. Making it all against the G. I need to remesh, but I think I'm gonna do that when I do the mouth bag, so I'm going to walk you through opening the mouth here in just a second, but for now I'm still polishing up things, going through and looking over, seeing what I need to fix, and you can tell just from I think this is like 30 minutes since the like paint over, but it really shows one how things can improve very quickly. And if you just keep hammering at it, again, if if it isn't, then you should probably go back and like save another version or open another if it like it's too wonky. But it shows you just like with a little bit of time putting into it, you can really make something that you enjoy and something that you just that was just a thought in your head. And so my motivation to you is, yes, it's not perfect the way I have in mind yet, but like it's getting there, and you need to remember that 3D is hard, 3D takes time, even the best people, it takes a while. I would say that it's you have one more dimension than 2D, and I think I said this before, but it's a lot. I'm going back and editing. I don't know what that error was. I think it was with the Gizmo. If that's Gizmo's on, it gives you like a weird error when you try to move things like normally, like with the move brush. So yeah, that's I could sometimes get the error. So if that happens, just undo and pray that Zbrush doesn't crash. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Should be. Alright, I'm gonna add a mouth bag. So save a version of this before, just in case. I'm going to delete lower. Alright. Dynamesh, and then I'm gonna make the groups. So, well, I'm gonna do it now. Fuck. Group here, then we're gonna make it really scary looking. Good for now. I don't need to make it too deep. Okay, we're gonna Dynamesh and then leave this open. Let's push the neck as well. Oh. Grab the ears. Save this. Oh, merge the neck. How much merge the neck and the torso? Just so there's no like differential. We can always edit the torso. Okay, now we're in a group. Dynamesh and then preserve the history. Here. Take a second to get this right, but you want to like group everything separately. So actually, and then get rid of the back. So I'm going to lasso this top part. And then you see how it goes in the back. So I'm going to just delete that. We got this nice selection there. Select the bottom, hide the top, everything. Select. You see it's got this part, so mask that. Group it. The nose. Ears. Even for the neck too. Okay, but why not? Okay, so we're gonna do keep groups. So preserve the history here is on. Keep Zremesh keep groups. That floating piece there. Okay. You don't really want like small little islands like that. You want like big groups because it can make the Zremesh weird. Not bad. It's not bad. Protect history. Yes. Divide up one more, and then project one more time. Yeah, it doesn't really necessary. There we go. You have a mouth bag now. And it's very ugly. Like usually I have a very clean. So normally for my models, I will have this, oops, this doesn't have the poly groups on because I brought it in from Blender, but you can see the mouth topology is very clean here. Let me find it before I post. But in order to get like these like really clean expressions, you need a nice, like poly groups. And so that's what I'll do is I'll have like the poly group for the upper lip be different, the poly group for the mouth bag, and poly group for the this texture is not applied. Let's see. You can see here like the upper lip is a different, the jaw, and it just makes it easier when you're posing the mouth because then I can open it up. See, like that. Blur it. Not how I pose, but yeah, usually I'll start there and then open it here. Well, go back a little bit. Depending on how open the mouth is, that's where you move it from. So if it's like a really open mouth, you start from the jaw. If it's like just slightly open, then you want to just, you can look at it on your face, but it's normally just these muscles that come into play. But there's some like jaw down movement, so don't forget that. Like the jaw will move slightly downward. That's very rough. And then you gotta also keep in mind like I can go into expressions later, but this upper lip will be stretched this way, and thus this part will move up too. So then you gotta keep that in mind, and then maybe this might get squished up even more right here with the eyelashes. Yeah. Back to this guy. Oh, scary. Also, you can see here I make the inner mouth darker, also the nostrils too. So I take like this dark red color and I make It just gives it more of a 2D look. But yeah, the inner mouth bag. Let's see. Oh, that's not colored here, but it should be. I bet I changed it later on. This is an older version. Should be like this dark red color here. Sometimes I will sample my own models. I'm like, what color did I put here? I don't really remember. This should be like a dark color inside. Did she fix that? I gotta fix that. Oh, the eyes. I'm gonna say I really like that red color. It's perfect. It's like this. Just make sure you're looking at like where it is on the color wheel, because that can be okay. It's like in the middle on the orange-ish side. That's what I prefer. Is like in the orangey, more warm tone. Even though I kind of stuck with a bit of an icier palette for Griffith, just because that's what I saw in the references. So like this is a bit icier than what I normally do. I'd normally do more of a deeper tone, just depending on like the skin tone. Skin tone, the fan art, how the character was portrayed. I've seen Berserk before, so I know Griffith is like this, like he's like so icy looking compared to everyone else. Like he's like this, yes, snow princess. Yeah, it's good to talk to yourself about these things. So I'm just cleaning up in this area because it's really messy. And just smoothing out all subdivisions. Ooh. Sometimes I get those. It's just when the geometry is close together, you can get those like weird projection issues. Not a big deal. Then I'm going to... In case you don't know what the mouth looks like open, I have a reference on my PRF board. I've done it several times, so you can see here on my Mononoke sculpt how the mouth will look. It's a bit different than... I'm not gonna keep it open, but since I don't have teeth in, I could make some real quick, but just with the cylinder. It not quite white, but okay. Also, teeth aren't circular, they're this shape right here. Oh wait, not that crazy. You're two, so it'll be like... There's that. Oh, so they aren't exactly straight, they're tilted. Let me cut this back off. Like here. So like tilted. Like that. They look like chiclets because, or like this is like weird because when you have them out, there's a tongue here, so it's not exactly. Insert a loop. Get rid of these. You don't have to do it like this. You can do it whatever way you want. Oh, you're in Weld. Symmetrical? What the heck? Mesh down. I'm trying to be perfect right now. Yeah, just get rid of it. Get rid of that part. You want to move the lips back into place because they're kind of all wonky now. It's kind of hard to see in the color version, so I might go back to the gray scale to demonstrate. Same things apply. You still have that like where the lips end here. It's just gonna be a bit more stretched out because it's open, but we can go back into the normal pose with the open mouth. I can show you to do that. This is so scary looking. Okay. I have this poly group. Ooh, I need to grab this part. So I'm gonna select this and then Get rid of other ones and grouping. Oop. Grouping. Okay. Maybe a bit more of this. Masking and trying to grab this one cube. Go W, please. There we go. Sort of. Loops are kind of weird. That out. Correct. Face mask is your friend here because this is like such a small area. I'm pulling this lip down. And we're going back to the normal state, so we're gonna need to move the jaw again. Like this. Yeah, I don't know if this is like correct way to do things. Do whatever you want. I always feel like I put that disclaimer, but it's true. Like, that's not how I would do it. I'm like, okay, well, I only see like 7 people like doing open mouth stuff, so I've kind of had to like make my own way. You know, I like open mouth is hard, so I understand. I want to finagle with the move brush, move up a little bit. An underbite. No, that one's fine. Kind of severe a bit. It's doing the duck lip. Actually, I might want to make it taller, so these polygroups are so bad. From the ZBrush. Gotta finagle with them. That's why clean topology is so important, at least when you're doing pose stuff. You can get away with it too. I get away with it all the time, but like I'm in a rush right now. This is like taking 2 hours. Usually this takes like a couple days, so you're fine. You're fine. I think it's asymmetrical. It is, I have to redo all this. It's slightly asymmetrical. Whatever. You can do a bring back the... What do we like? Which side do we like more? Let's do this side. Then you can do smart deformation. Deformation, this is a fun menu. So you want to do smart resym. Hopefully you'll see it bring back. Which result? Divide up again. Oh. I think it's the teeth. Yeah, the teeth are messing with me. That's how you give it a mouth back, and it makes it easier when you do the retopology too, because then you already have that area. I would go in and clean it up a little bit, because it might be, yeah, it's a bit funky in here, but then you have like you're able to just like select things out and easily remesh. In my opinion, I like it more. Do whatever your rigger wants, but this is the way I do it for my posing purposes. Was this... Am I off symmetry? Wait, was I off symmetry this entire time? Oh. That was masked. And this part, you can honestly go in with like a low intensity. It's like not connecting with the lips. Yeah. Blend here. Look at my references. I'm not remembering the past, right? So here I am looking at this reference I have of this particular lip formation, which happens underneath, and I always seem to forget it, so it's kind of like this shelf underneath. This like square, you can see that like shadow in the reference. Right now I'm also moving up the lips, and you kind of want to do this, I don't know if I've said this before, but you want to close the mouth because most references are in closed mouth pose, and also you can like look at that and then look back at yours. You can do the open mouth, but most of the time, looking at like say like a Griffith drawing, it's probably going to be mouth closed or whatnot, so that's easier to control on your sculptor, reference. You can again do the open mouth, but again there's going to be some stretching when you have an open mouth. Depends on how open it is, but the lips become quite stretched depending on how wide the mouth is. It's a lot of muscles and skin that people can get really confused on, so that's why they'll usually keep the mouth in sort of this closed position, which is fair. And if you get it wrong, it looks very odd, so I understand if you don't want to do an open mouth pose, but I like doing them, and I think it makes it look more natural most of the time. But again, you don't have to do an open mouth. A lot of people don't. They usually will just model it and then do the bag, like I said before. But I like doing it. I think it's fun. I think it's fun. And there's a couple artists that I really look up to that do some really nice expressions. And I think that gives the character a lot of depth. It's a really nice expression. But again, it is hard, so and you're a beginner if you're watching this, so feel free to skip over this step if you desire. I'm noticing that the lips are a lot smaller than I made them. I made them a bit too stretched when I opened the mouth. This bottom lip. You can see it a bit on this one a bit more, but you can see how I did the area right here, how it's like slightly like that. It's so subtle because I do stylize, but it's like that. I have a diagram in here. Here. Like I said a little bit earlier, but there's this where the lip ends kind of thing, and I kind of, even on the sculpt, I'm not really happy about it, you know, after doing a couple more sculpts. So it's been a while since I've worked on this tutorial. I've been working on this since November, but the thing with the lips, right, that like area, very important to get right. I've said this before in the tutorial, but if it doesn't look good, your kind of whole sculpt will be ruined. Just kidding. But it does make a difference, so highly recommend getting that step right, looking at a bunch of references, getting critiques, yada yada. Mistake earlier, I should have selected this here. Ooh. So thankfully to the Zremesh, I have the selection for the ear. I can easily move it back, and just adding some more voiceover here. Let's clean up the neck, yada yada. It's really wrong anatomy right now, but again, we're focusing on the face, we're focusing on technical steps. I'm not gonna worry about the nitty gritty, right? We're here to work on the face. If you want to yell at me for the neck in the comments, feel free. If you've even gotten this far, congratulations. Voiceover me is proud of you, and you should be proud of yourself. I'm proud of you. Shake hands. I need to shrink the head again. Like that anime proportion, just like a massive forehead. Let's just show you what I'm thinking, so. So close, or like, his nose needs to be shrunken. Widen slightly. So if I line the bangs, do I need to move the bottom face up or move the top? Because if I align the eyes here, she's looking that way, so let me line the nose. Button nose, a little upturned. Is that a jaw? So I also have a lot of trouble with the jaw too. I kind of don't really understand it, and I kind of do, but there's just so much that goes on it, and I need to look at my jaw some more. Like, my face is kind of weird. Like, I have like really wide cheeks and like a very small jaw, so it's like I love sculpting masculine characters, but on feminine characters it's more like more narrow and whatnot. Like, if there's a very, lots of diversity, that, there's the Chad jaw, insert Chad image in your head. Anywho, what am I talking about? Alright, the cheeks here, yada yada. We're doing some cheek stuff. We're doing more eye. We're doing with the lazy mouth. So you see that little line? That's lazy mouth. We're using that again with the Gizmo. Again, hammering away. We're like medieval sculptors, or sorry, Renaissance sculptors, hammering away with those features. I really hope this is helpful and not uninspiring. What's the word? Unhelpful. Yeah. Anywho, fixing that up is really lumpy right now. Don't care, because we can always smooth that out in a second. But again, smooth it out before you post. I think I do, because this isn't the one I post. You can see, like, go to the end and see what it looks like, or at the beginning, like, beginning of this. But for now, it looks ugly, and you know what? That's okay, because yours wills too. I guarantee it. And that's a positive thing, is that everyone's sculpt is gonna look ugly at some point or another, and that unites us all, right? Because we're here to learn and not be perfect the first time because we're human. Anywho, painting the lip highlight, love adding that like a little dry, like flaky skin looking texture that you get, or just like, or maybe like a lip, like shine lip. They can get really cool with these colors. And again, go to my PolyPaint tutorial if you want more on that. I'm not doing a PolyPaint tutorial here. Again, PolyPaint is a vertex painting, so it's not like you can export it, but it's not like a normal UV painting, but it is kind of, because you can export that as an albedo map. And anywho, but it is based off of like the resolution of the model, so keep that in mind when you're doing this stuff. So keep it on the highest level, don't go low and paint on that. Go over that in my PolyPaint. I hate texturing to another one, but again, I'm not gonna do that here. I've spent too much time on this tutorial. Forgive me. Another thing I like to do with the eyelids, I like to give them eyeshadow. So I do. Let's select this color and go darker. What I do is I do this here, this, and then always go lighter in the center. I don't know if I like this orange, but get a bit more skin tone. Like the blend here. This needs to be cleaned up. This area I'm not getting exactly right. Okay, I see why. There's no bone. Sure. Yeah, it's all flat here. Again, it's an anime face, so I don't know. Probably do another paint over and refine it in a second after I edit. Start this bullshit. Like start. I got like 2 hours of footage to edit. Ooh. Never like too worried about this area. It's so easy to fix. It's like lay everything down and then fix the areas that I always have problems with. It's like the rule. The ears, of course, cleaned up a little bit, but it's just a refining thing. Again, you won't even see it, so you don't even need to if you don't want to. I mean, if it's animated, of course, but if it's just like for practice or your base, I mean, I would definitely make sure you do know how to fix it. But if you're like me, you got like 2 hours of footage to edit, like I'll do it before I post on Twitter, I mean, for sure, but really clean this up, like just for presentation purposes. I like to add some stuff here too. Eyelids are a bit deeper, or need to be. This area is so hard to clean up, but yeah, it's easy, it's easy. Go low. Going for the like correct anatomy. Oh my god, it's content serving. Okay, I think it might be the eyelids. They're too still far forward. Oh my gosh. Yeah, let's merge these all together. I got position stuff, so I'll just leave it separate. Again, don't be afraid to like mess with the position of things. This is 3D and things are going to take a while to get in the right place, and it depends on your style and preferences for what you have in mind or for the character. Or I'm kind of not, I don't have a very clear concept in mind. I have a style and I do like to stick with it. I started earlier saying, oh, I kind of wanted to do like these giant anime eyes, and I switched up and did more of in line with my usual style of a bit more realistic. And you can see that starting to drift in that direction because I look at the eye corners here and I'm fixing the lids, but I'm looking, no, I think the corners are a bit too wide here, and so I'm going to go in and edit that. Again, it's a push and pull between the two. 3D takes a long time, so again, don't be afraid to mess around, and you know, when you first place things, it's not the final position. The masking exists for you. That's why it's so important, masking and alt clicking between the different subtools. So I'll alt click between the eyelashes and I'll alt click between the face to really edit. And again, I didn't start the hair because I wanted to say that for another tutorial, but that would have helped me a lot with this part of the process, with really refining the features. And I do end up changing that later when I go into the Photoshop and like doing another paint over, and then or making the other tutorial. Like, you'll see the entirely different face for that tutorial. But even during then, I edited it close to the end, and which you'll see later in this video, because I did re-record that part. But it's a long process. So here I am moving down the skin above the eye, and this part varies. It's really interesting to look at the differences for people. Oh, here I am fixing the temples. But the eye skin, a lot of times, if you ever notice on like cowboys, they have like this, especially like Clint Eastwood, they have like such a huge like sag there over their eyes, that their eyes are almost like, they're so squinted. And I love that area. I think it's so expressive. The eye is very expressive in general. So feel free to have fun. 3D is, again, a very daunting process, but it can also be fun if you're willing to put in the time and to make it your own. So yeah, fixing some PolyPaint here, and you're refining the nose area a little bit. Again, things aren't set in stone until you say they are, so for the sake of the tutorial, I did stop it at some point and edit it later. But for your sculpts, you're going to want to, you know, take the time, ask friends for advice, and that will really help improve your sculpts for sure. What has to do with the lips, just slightly some more masculine appearance. Again, Griffith is a very feminine man. Oh, make sure I'm on the highest subdivision level. Oopsie. So we don't want to do it too much. Also, this still needs to be cleaned up a bit. And then I'm just checking the measurement. The middle, a bit more extended. I think it's too. Deepen the jaw a little bit. Lip needs to be toned down a ton. So, I am happy with kind of where they turned out because I did it so fast, but I really think I could have gone slower and like really polished the edges of these lips up, but I didn't have a lot of time, again, with this tutorial. But I really think it's important to get this area right, to get this painting right, and I spend a bit of time. So yeah, take your time, have a good time, what have you, and Hopefully, I would love to see everyone's sculpts, by the way, that they make. I hope you don't make this one. I hope you don't like follow step by step. I mean, you could, but I would love to see like what everyone else makes. Something like, I don't know, like your favorite character, your OC. Like, let me see what you got. Like fan art of a character you've always wanted to make. I want to see it all because that's what I love doing. I love making fan art. I love making people's OCs. I love making my OCs. I love art, and I hope you do too. Otherwise, why would you be here? And you know, why have you gotten this far? I hope you're not just skipping on. If you are skipping around, that's fine too. I'm surprised, you know, this is this long, but here we are, flipping through. What am I doing here now? I have no idea. I should cut this out. No, I'm not gonna. Oh, that's the earlier one. Ooh, look at all that. Look at that progress. So funny. My friend was like, oh my god, what sculpt is this? When I did the finished Griffith head model. I showed him like the beginning stage and like this tutorial, and I'm like, that's Griffith early stage, and they went, oh. I'm like, yeah. Oop, I know. That's the before today. It's the after. Needs a bit of touch up, but I might do a paint over because I'm getting sick of looking at it here and I gotta edit, so there you go. Griffith. Ta-da! I'm not sure if I said it in the video, but I really wanted to do sort the hairs because it gives me a better idea of like face proportions and what I want to change, like landmarks to use. And I didn't want to do that until I had started a hair tutorial, so I did that. I finally did another hair tutorial, and I filmed that already, and I'll be doing that, hopefully posting that within 2 months or so. Anywho, I wanted to go over the face changes I did on Griffith, where I really pushed some of the features, so zoom in to compare. So I of course touched up the nostril. I made his nose smaller. I made it a bit more upturned. I got a bunch of reference for that. So I was looking at like James McAvoy's face here and looked at the references on the animation show and really wanted to go for that upturned look. With the eyelids, let me hide the hair. I made this a bit cleaner in here. You can see this. I made the eyes a bit more sultry, so I lowered the lashes a bit. I made the lips upturned here, a bit more smirky. It's like very small changes, and you can see that these very small changes affect a lot with your face, so don't feel discouraged if I fix this in here, and be sure to save different file versions to compare to see like what works and what doesn't work. I think I went back at one point because I didn't like one of the changes I did. With the ears, I made them almost elvish like because I wanted to. Oh, I guess they're pointy here. Wow, huh? I didn't even think about that. Wow. The head here, I just tweaked the skull like slightly. Again, you don't really need to because he's covered with hair. Tweak the neck a little bit, Adam's apple. Tweak the jaw. I think I made it less elongated here, so I think I squished it in like this. A bit more feminine. Because again, he's a very androgynous character, so he is a male, but I wanted to really push the feminine features. This is my ideal idea of Griffith, so if that's not your version, then of course feel free to change it. Went with some PolyPaint here to give it some highlights. I want to see the flat color. So that's like without the... So here's all the painting I did. I gave him some cheekbones here as well. I think I got rid of... It looked too murky. Switch. Wait, do not switch. Yeah, when I added this stuff here, it just looked too muddy, so I think I deleted that. And I turned the nose up here. Mostly just the nose and shrinking the eyes a little bit around the edges. I always have that problem, so I usually will just go in and pull this way. It's just very small very small changes. So not on this subdivision, I'll do it on like a low, but you can see, there you go. Probably looks better. I'm kidding, it looks horrifying, but it's like with the mouth, it makes so much of a difference when you, I fix the ears here, like this area is weird. I think I moved it back a little bit behind the armor. Yeah, I like to do this. I didn't really record most of it because I was doing the hair. I think I have that in the hair recording tutorial stuff. I also posed Griffith here, so I don't know if I can show the nipples on YouTube, but I have a pose version I'm working on for the hair tutorial, so that'll be all in that video. So thanks for watching. I don't think anything else with the lips. Let me make sure I got everything. Yeah, there was nothing I wanted to deceive you from. I just, or like not show you about this finalizing process. It just gets too much, like explaining every little step I'm doing and like talking. Like I really need to, like with faces, I'm gonna go silent and think and contemplate. I tweak the ears in here. Yeah, I did want to, this was my plan all along, to go back over and show you. I fixed the cheekbones here. See that I did raise them up. I thought that would look better. Since he's kind of doing a smirky look here. But yeah. That's that. Thank you for watching. Bald. Bald! He's making people with hair miserable! Oh my gosh, he's bald! And he's torturing people who have hair!